Welcome back to the Takeout. Thank you for staying with us. Colin Allred thinks he can turn Texas' seat there in the Senate blue for the first time since 1988. Boy, it's been a long time. Last fall, the NFL linebacker turned Democratic congressman lost his bid to unseat Republican Senator Ted Cruz. This time around, he's running for the seat that John Cornyn, Republican, currently holds. And today, he released an affordability plan, which he wants to be part of that conversation for the nomination and for the general election. Texas Democratic Senate candidate and former Congressman Colin Allred joins me now. It's good to see you. Let's just talk very briefly about your affordability plan and what is new or potentially interesting or politically cutting edge about it.
Well, listen, I just wanted to make sure that we talk about what I think is most important, in this election cycle, but also just facing our country right now, which is that working people are working harder and harder for less, and they're swimming upstream. They feel like they can't make it. And, Major, I've been working in restaurants around Texas. I've been working on construction sites. I've been going to high school football games where I talk to folks in the crowd. And I ask people while I'm sitting there, what's the biggest concern for you? What's costing you the most? And we put the answers to that into this plan, which is concerns with the cost of groceries, the cost of the light bill, of healthcare, of childcare in particular, which was a huge one. For seniors, so many costs that are adding up, including taking care of their seniors and their family. And so I wanted to make sure that because I grew up this way, paycheck to paycheck, being raised by a single mom who was a public school teacher, that we put this at the heart of our campaign, but I also think it should be the heart of really this entire election cycle.
So you have an opponent, the Democratic nomination, James Tallarico, member of the state House. He was on this program. He complimented you, said if you win the nomination, he'll campaign vigorously for you. But he said he had values and a generational approach to this that was different and better than yours. What do you have to say about James Tallarico, and why should Texas Democrats choose you over him?
Well, listen, I'm welcome anybody into the race. I think you know me. I'm a competitor. When you play in the NFL, you're used to competition. I think competition, makes me better. But I know who I am. I know why I'm running. I know what I bring to the table. And Major, you remember back in 2018, I had never run for office before, and I flipped a Republican-held seat here in Texas that had been gerrymandered for a Republican, multi-million-dollar race. I represented a true swing district, and I kept winning in that swing district. And I've shown that I know how to bring together a coalition of Democrats, yes, of course, but also of independents and Republicans, and particularly focusing on turning out working people and including Black and Latino Texans who I think are too often getting written off in some of these discussions. I overperformed in the last election in the Rio Grande Valley, but nearly by over 8 points, flipping some Republican counties here in Texas. We showed that we can run ahead of a ticket. I want to now lead a ticket and make sure that we can win here.
Explain to my audience, Colin, from your perspective, what the dynamics of this race are different from 2024. Why the Paxton-Cornyn primary on the Republican side makes it different, and why the absence of Donald Trump on the ballot makes it different.
It's such an important point. This is a completely different election. And, I think in many ways, just like in 2018, when that election was a reaction to so many things that were happening around the country that folks felt like they had not voted for, I think that's what we're going to see here as well. And I think a lot of folks were promised, particularly working people in the last election, they were promised that their costs were going to go down, that inflation was going to go away on day one, that everything was going to be great. They're going to go back to an economy where they felt like they could get ahead. And they've gotten the opposite. And what we have to do, I think, in this election is remind folks of that, drill down on that, talk about how their light bill is going to be more expensive because of what they did in the big, beautiful bill, that they're going to lose their health care, they're going to lose funding for their kids' schools, and that that working folks are getting screwed by this administration, by what's going on in Washington. And so it's, in a lot of ways, this is a completely different election. But when it comes to John Cornyn and Ken Paxton, to me, they're both either too corrupt or too weak to represent our state. If you were here, Major, you'd be seeing that these folks are running just to get one person in the country to pay attention to them when they should be trying to represent 30 million Texans. It's kind of disgusting. I've had enough of it.
Colin, you have to be a realist. The trend lines are one way and one way only since 1988, the last time a Democrat won a Senate seat. The races continue to draw tremendous amounts of money. Democratic donors continue to believe in what the results suggest is little more than a pipe dream. Why is your race not just another version of the same pipe dream?
Yeah. Well, our races are expensive because we have 30 million people. But listen, sitting here right now, the Republicans know that I am leading their leading candidate, which is Ken Paxton. They know that they are in trouble, and they should recognize that. And they're spending a lot of money trying to rescue John Cornyn in a bid that who knows what the result of that will be. But they certainly recognize the danger that they're in. And so I hope that folks out there can understand what's actually happening here, which is that we have had a trend line that was getting better and better here in Texas, where we're having closer and closer elections. And the last election, in many ways, was a big setback. But I've been talking about some of the things that I thought we needed to fix. That I do think we're partly responsible for that. We had a lot of frustration around what was happening, at the border. My family's from Brownsville, Texas, the very tip of the border with Mexico, where my grandfather was a customs officer. I was talking about how we have to address this. I grew up counting, paychecks, and my mom and us swiping her debit card, being barely able to afford our groceries. I knew what inflation was doing to working people. I don't have to read about some of these things. I live them. And so I want to make sure that we take that experience and go all around our state, talk about how we don't have to keep going in this direction, and keep that hope that we don't have to have representation that doesn't care about us. We can have a senator who will represent all 30 million of us.
Colin Allred, I appreciate the time, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Major.